Welcome, everybody. This is Heroes and Brews with Nerdy Dudes. We are your friendly neighborhood Beeroes. My name is Ty. Across the way is Kev, and we got an actual Beero with us right now because he helps create delicious craft beers for the craft beer industry and for our mouths. He is the chief brand officer and co-founder of Workhorse Brewing Company in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. He is Dan Hershberg. Dan, welcome to the show.
Give my little Price is Right model
Welcome, Dan. Welcome.
Thanks for having me, guys.
First and foremost, thank you so much again for taking the time out of the day to talk with us. We really appreciate that with everything that's going on. First and foremost, we just want to reach out and just ask how are you and your family doing during this crazy, insane time.
Yeah, well, thank you guys again for having me. Really appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about what's going on at Workhorse. Certainly, on a personal level, things are a little different than they were, a matter of months ago. As you guys know, I have a young toddler, 2.5-year-old at home, and another one on the way in a few weeks. So that will definitely change the landscape as it is currently. But we're both pretty fortunate. I mean, I can work from home. It's nice that you guys want to give me credit for making the beer, but let's be honest, I have zero to do with the beer.
You're a part of it.
Yeah, cool. I'll take it, but it's not my deal.
And with that being said, I know with what's going on right now in the world, a lot of businesses, small and large, are suffering and they're being severely impacted by this. How is Workhorse, dealing with something of this magnitude?
Sure. I think we were very fortunate at the beginning of this whole pandemic to kind of have a consensus amongst both our management team and our board of directors that the most important thing was to close the tap room as soon as possible and ensure the safety and well-being of both our staff and our guests alike. So we moved very quickly, even before the kind of government mandate to close. And that gave us a little bit of a head start to kind of get the logistics in place for what we've been doing now for 2 months, which is the contactless pickup and at-home delivery. So logistically speaking, it was a pretty smooth transition, all things considered, and I'm very happy to report that the business is doing well. The support has been incredible. I think like a lot of businesses, we had to make some tough decisions, vis-a-vis our personnel when this all went down, trying to ensure that there is enough runway to get us through to the other side. So we had to let some people go, and thankfully we've been able to bring a number of them back, which is really a great feeling as a business owner to know that
Sure.
continue to provide livelihood for people on our team.
Yeah. Fantastic.
So, Kevin, do you want to take it again, or?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Just you kind of segued very nicely into the next thing I wanted to bring up, which was the take home beer process, which
Sure.
We were talking a few minutes ago. My wife literally just came from Workhorse with the take home beer. Myself, and I know Ty included, have participated in that, and I have to say it's the most easy, straightforward method ever. So I encourage everybody to take advantage of this. Did you kind of want to go into how people can, participate in the take-home beer process?
Sure. Yeah. So I think, when, first of all, thank you for the support and the kind words.
Yeah.
I mean, we've really tried to design everything in a manner that, makes it, as you said, streamlined, makes it efficient, allows you to get your hands on cold, fresh beer. And I think, we were lucky in one respect that, through our point of sale, which we use Square, they had some nice online tools that we could pretty easily get a website up. And then on top of that, our entire taproom team, our bartenders in particular, who were, hourly employees who weren't going to have a job, they all stepped up and said, yeah, we want to be part of this. We want to deliver as well. So we have this amazing team of people who know our process inside and out, both before and after. So I think that's allowed it to be as smooth as it is. As it works for the people who may or may not know about it, the easiest thing that you can do is just go right online. You can go directly to our website at workhorsebrewing.com. There's a landing page there that will take you to either our King of Prussia tap room or our Center City tap room. We're offering delivery out of both locations. The Center City delivery is pretty much the entire, footprint of Center City, Philadelphia, a little bit into West Philly. And that's a pretty great process. You can get beer typically within the hour delivered to your door, which is awesome. I live in the city, so I've taken advantage of it myself.
That's awesome.
But for people in King of Prussia, we do that about 12-mile delivery radius. So if you live anywhere ballpark 12 miles from the brewery. We deliver. We oftentimes do a little outside of that as well, just depending on what our routes look like. And we also do a weekly delivery to Westchester, Downingtown, Exton, that kind of whole far western suburbs. That's every Thursday. From a pickup side, you just go onto that website. It's got our full list of all of our beers available. We have, I think, right now 11 or 12 beers in cans. We're still doing growler and crowler fills for the majority of our products. And pickup is usually available within 15 to 30 minutes. Sometimes if we're really busy, we set it to 45. But you can come in, you park your car, call the tap room, someone will bring out your beer, drop it on a picnic table. You will stay in your car the whole time. Then they will leave. You go grab your beer, and it's that simple. So you're in and out within 60 seconds, pretty much every time.
Yeah, which was really it was really cool because on Instagram, I think it was maybe last week that you guys said that you were delivering to Westchester, and that's where I live, and I was pumped up about that because I'm like, I get this delivered to my doorstep right now. Like, this is fantastic.
Like a kid on Christmas.
Yeah, right. But this is a good way. I want to segue into our beer of the week. All three of us have our Workforce IPAs right now with us. What you're doing is really cool because during these hard times, it's hard for your business as well, but you guys are giving back as well when you can. I know you guys have, you guys donate to 3 charities on Mondays, profits, and you also have these Workforce IPAs. Do you want to talk about, the idea behind why you guys made this beer?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you again for giving me the opportunity. I think this is what, as a business, we're the most proud of at the moment being able to do. And that's really looking beyond kind of our immediate survival and thinking more about how we can help support the community that's allowed us to grow. We're very fortunate that the greater King of Prussia area and really the kind of Philly 5-county territory has just been so amazing in terms of not only their financial support, but their words of encouragement. So we wanted to find a way to do something to help the folks who might really need it during these times. So on Monday, as you alluded to, every Monday we do something called Community Support Days. So for every single 4-pack that we sell, we donate $1 from that sale to one of 3 causes, and Workhorse also matches that contribution dollar for dollar. So in essence, it's a $2 per 4-pack, $6 per case, or excuse me, $12 per case with our match that we will donate. That money goes to 3 charities split evenly. The first is the Upper Marion Township Foundation, supports a variety of causes in our backyard. We also donate to Laurel House, which is a domestic violence advocacy group that helps people in need during these very challenging times where oftentimes they're pretty much locked in their home with an abusive spouse or a damaging relationship. So it's a really critical opportunity for us to try to help these folks. And then on top of that, we donate to the Matco Anti-Hunger Network, which is a Valley Forge Tourism Board partner and someone that we've worked with in the past who helps essentially local food pantries and those who are food deprived during these times. So it's a great cause for us, and we've had 2 of them so far. We've raised over $1,000 and hoping to do a lot more between now and the end of this pandemic.
It's amazing. It really is. It's a really good thing you guys are doing because it shows how much you guys care on top of that.
There is no Workhorse without the people that support us. I mean, it's just that simple. So for us to be able to offer a little bit of thanks is something that we're proud to be able to do. And we're fortunate to be in such a great community.
Yeah. And sorry, Kevin, you can go.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say, what you're doing is fantastic, and I think that's another reason that Ty and I really appreciate the craft beer industry. I mean, when we first really got into craft beer, sure, we were like, wow, like beer could taste like this. And it wasn't just, like Coors Light, Miller Lite and stuff like that. But the craft beer community as a whole and the way that they work together and the way that they give back to their community and the community is everything to them. I just love that, like that brother and sisterhood that I think the craft beer industry brings. So to hear that, it's awesome, especially in a time like this.
Sure.
To be able to give back, it's awesome.
Yeah, and you get a delicious craft beer as this because it is absolutely delicious. I love the taste of it. You can taste those hints of pineapple in it, and it's a very good IPA. Thanks,
man. Well, that was the one that I guess we would talk about next. So this Workforce IPA, this is the other charitable initiative that we have, and kind of Kev, what you're talking about in terms of the craft beer community. The bar and restaurant industry very closely tied to that, obviously, not only because of the folks who purchase our beer to then sell out of those locations, but also come into the brewery and support us. we've been indebted to those folks to help us grow our brand. So this beer in particular, this beer is another dollar per 4-pack, 6 per case that we donate to the Restaurant Workers Community Foundation. So we know a lot of the folks in that industry are particularly hit hard by the pandemic because they've had to close their doors, and many of them are not going to reopen, which is an incredibly sad thing, not just from a business standpoint, but just from a humanity standpoint. So this beer is a really important thing for us, and it's every day. So any can that we sell, we donate $1. It's been amazing. We're going to blow through this first 60 barrel batch in a matter of weeks, and I
That's
will
awesome.
point out as an aesthetics thing, you guys see the bricks that we have here.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with each rebrew of this beer, we're going to add another layer of bricks. So the second label is already done and has another 3 rows of bricks, and that kind of symbolizes this continual rebuild that we're trying to help contribute towards. And hopefully within, I think it's 6 brews, it'll get all the way to the top. And while that's probably not enough to fix the problem, it'll be a small little token for of our appreciation. And thanks to everyone who's bought it and enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Fantastic idea, fantastic beer. Everybody out there, please purchase this beer. It's very similar. Very similar to your New England IPA. Is it the same formula?
Yeah, it's very close. So it's the same malt bill. The hops are a little bit different. Nate, with anything that he does, we kind of give him autonomy to really brew whatever style that he feels makes sense, and will continue to, I think, be an accurate reflection of our portfolio and kind of where the sales trends are. So our New England has been, up until this whole pandemic, had been our best seller every single month, basically since we opened. So we figured if we want to sell this beer as much as possible, we thought, less about let's make a cheap lager and try to make a lot of money. It was what's the best beer that we can put in this can that's going to want people to come back and buy more of it and support, support something that's really necessary. So we basically did a comparable brew to the New England, and I think it's a really tasty beer. I think it's a little, the hop character has a little bit of a smoother finish to me, personally, than the New England does, but I think this beer is fantastic.
Yeah, cheers to that. And it's funny because I'm wearing one of your shirts right now. It says "Made Right," and with all your beers that I've tried, they're all very tasty. I've never been a Vienna Lager person, but your guys' Vienna Lager is absolutely delicious. The session you guys made, you guys don't make it anymore right now, but was one of the best sessions I've ever had. So I'd like to advocate maybe bring that back. But you can taste it. Nate, who's your brewer, correct? You can tell he knows what he's doing because everything you guys have to offer is absolutely delicious. And this is why I want to segue into your kind of summer beers that you guys are making, like the margarita and pina colada. They taste exactly like what you're promoting. And my girlfriend, she's not a big craft beer person, but I had her taste the pina colada, loved it because it's got that taste behind it. And it's got a little bit of an ale aftertaste, which I love, but it's mostly pina colada. What was your guys' take on like making those beers?
Yeah, so we had actually built out our productions calendar, before this all happened, and kind of had this planned as like a summer cocktail series. We were going to release between 3 and 4 different like summer cocktail style beers. And we did it in large part because I think our stated goal as a brewery has been to design accessible, approachable beers. And really what that means is kind of tie what you were saying. Like if you're in, let's say your wife, your husband, your friend, you have a relationship with somebody, let's say that person doesn't like craft beer and you're a craft beer aficionado. We want you to be able to enjoy that same beer and maybe appreciate it for different reasons. So, you can probably pick up on some of the nuances in that brew and some of the things that Nate did, where someone who's new to craft beer says, oh, wow, I love pina coladas. Let me try this. And all of a sudden they like craft beer, and then maybe they'll try something else. So we wanted to find something that kind of fit the bill. And then on top of that, because, I'm probably not getting to the beach this summer. For various reasons, I thought it would be nice to have kind of like beachy cocktail style drinks at home. So it makes you feel like you can kind of take a little bit of a vacation, even if you're stuck in the same floor plan for months on end.
Very true.
And so from here, I kind of wanted to ask you some, more lighthearted beer related questions. If you would, humor.
You can go softball, you can go hard, whatever you need.
We'll go easy. So I don't know if you agree, but I feel as if the IPA style is probably the most, in the craft beer industry, is probably the most dominant style. I mean, would you agree with that?
100%.
Do you, which always kind of fascinated me. So before we really got into craft beer, we were, familiar with your, the usual like macro brews and Miller Lite, Coors Light, which to me are more along the lines of like a Pilsner or a lager. So it always kind of fascinated me that IPA was always like a go-to. And I mean, I'm a little biased. That is my go-to. But why do you think IPA is probably the most popular beer style as opposed to, say, a Pilsner or a lager style?
It's a great question. And, the thing I always try to preface when it's a response to beer related questions is that, while I am a co-founder of a brewery, I actually don't have a craft beer background. I don't have any training as a Cicerone. I'm not a hyper knowledgeable beer guy. I'm kind of more about the business and the brand side of it. As a consumer, and that's kind of how I tend to answer these questions, is more like what I think about it from a personal standpoint, is that I think IPAs, because hops have such a wide range of characteristics from a flavor standpoint, I think that IPA is kind of a broader section, provides a much wider range of flavors that people can enjoy. So, we always use the example of like our New England IPA, as we discussed earlier, is much more of like a citrus forward IPA. So for folks who might not say traditionally they love IPAs, we found that they love the New England because it doesn't dominate with that piney, resiny hop character that something like our West Coast IPA does. So it's like, when people say they like pizza, as the analogy I always use, you can have plain pizza, you can have pizza with toppings, you can have thick crust, you can have thin crust, Detroit style. It's like there's this whole spectrum of pizza. And I think similar with IPAs, it just finds its own, depending on what you like, you can find your own niche within the broader spectrum of IPAs. So I think that's probably, at least on a high level. Again, don't pretend to be a Cicerone over here, but that's kind of where my mind goes.
Then we also, sorry, continue. Yeah, sorry.
I know with Pilsner and lager style, I mean, I've watched like a few documentaries on brewing beer, and I know that Pilsner and lager take a lot longer to make,
sure,
or a lot longer to brew, I should say. So I never knew if maybe IPA you could just kind of get it out quicker, I guess.
Definitely from a production side, I mean that's the other part of all of this, and this is where I think more my interest lies, at least from a business standpoint, is really learning. And we spent 4 years kind of building up this project, and I needed to do a deep dive to understand more about the industry and how beer is made and how we can maximize the process from an efficiency standpoint. IPAs you can turn more quickly, and frankly, the other thing that you can do is, if let's say you make a mistake during the process, at any point during the brew process, you can throw a boatload of hops in there and kind of cover up some of your mistakes. Whereas lagers, you don't have that opportunity. You either make a good lager or you don't, which is part of the reason why we wanted to plant our flag as a brewery that makes good lagers, because we have Nate, who's been brewing award-winning GABF medaling beers for a dozen years. So I think there's definitely a little bit of that balance between what sells. I'll tell you this. The easiest way to sum this up is, if Nate could only brew lagers all the time, he would only brew lagers all the time. They make you the most money. They're the most delicious beers out there.
I love lagers. Yeah.
And the hazy lager is fantastic. I was a big fan of that too. You guys have made a bunch of these beers that have been delicious. And I have a buddy who's in Massachusetts. He wants to know how he can get a hold of Workhorse in Massachusetts.
You get in your car and you drive to Pennsylvania.
I'll ship it over. I'll send it down over that way.
There's been some rumblings. We now can ship beer within the state directly to consumers, via the mail, and that's something we're going to be exploring. I know a lot of breweries are doing it. We've been so just, I guess, fortunate that our delivery business has worked so well that we haven't had the bandwidth to pivot, but I assume we will at some point do some direct to consumer shipping in Pennsylvania. But there have been some rumblings that the longer this goes on, there might be the opportunity to ship beer across state lines. Nice. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it does, would love to send your friends some beer.
He would appreciate that, I'm sure.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to buy a lot of pina coladas, because a lot of my friends and family who are chatting will want the pina colada, and they're mostly on Long Island, so I'll be doing a lot of purchasing and driving down that way.
Nice.
Sorry, you go ahead.
So Kev and I have been following you since your guys' start. Kev found you guys on Instagram when you guys were building up from the ground up for your warehouse.
Not to make it weird or anything.
Yeah, not to make it weird. We went to your grand opening
outside of my house a couple years ago, just sitting around.
Yeah, that wasn't us. I promise, it wasn't us. But we went to the grand opening, and it's been exciting to watch you guys grow, especially during what's going on now. So how has it been, from the ground up till now, like the ups and downs? Like, how has it been as co-founder of a brewing company? How has that been for you?
So the short answer is it's incredibly challenging. I've been an entrepreneur since 2008, and I got into craft beer kind of on a whim. A friend of mine, you guys probably know the story by now, but for those who don't, I have a college buddy who opened a brewery in Cincinnati called Rheingeist
Hmm.
that just had this incredible successful trajectory to now. I think they're like a top 30 brewery in the country in terms of their barrelage. It's just an amazing success story in a very short period of time. So from a business perspective, I was incredibly captivated by their story and their growth. And my co-founder and I went out there and just kind of fell in love with the culture of craft beer and thought it would be a great thing to do. And I remember the story I've told people when they've asked how I met Nate, who's our brewmaster. I had been doing, I ran an apparel company, and I'd been doing some apparel for Manatani Stillworks, which is a craft distillery in Pottstown. And their head distiller is this guy named Max Pfeffer, who's a tremendously talented guy. This is a totally shameless plug, but like go to Manatani and buy their stuff there. It's really great. So I met Max, 6, 7 years ago. And when I told him I was thinking about opening a brewery, he was like, "Oh, don't do that. That's a bad idea." I said, "Well, why is that?" And he's like, "Well, the industry is incredibly competitive. It's very challenging. It's very capital intensive. You have no background in it. But if you do decide to go forward, I used to live with this guy, Nate Oleline, who was the brewmaster at Devil's Backbone, and he's looking for a new opportunity because they just sold to Anheuser-Busch. So yeah, I probably should have heeded his advice a little bit more, but I kind of have this like stubborn entrepreneurial vision where it's like, no one can tell me what I can or can't do.
Sure.
So the long story is that it's very challenging as an industry. When Max told me it was competitive in 2015, it's basically doubled the number of breweries. Certainly in Pennsylvania, we have an abundance of amazing breweries and amazing brewers. So it makes it even harder to stand out. And I've gotten tons of calls from people. I kind of have this pay it forward mentality where everything that we learned in terms of building Workhorse was really predicated upon conversations with other people in the industry who are willing to give time and insight. And I've tried to do the same thing for people who call me. And what I basically told them is, you need to be fully prepared for what you're about to walk into because it is not easy. You have to have every viable business discipline to be successful from, production, manufacturing, logistics, marketing, sales, customer service, staffing. I mean, you can't roll something up as a business that does not exist in craft beer. So I love it because it's every day is incredibly challenging. But if you want to have work-life balance or you want to see your family, or it's probably not the best business for you.
Well, you guys are doing a fantastic job. I mean, to see where how successful from my individual standpoint in King of Prussia, and then to open a second facility in Center City, to me is incredible. So I commend you for that. I mean, it's just
Thank you.
fantastic work that you guys are doing. So
as I said before, man, if you guys don't support it, there is no brewery. So we're only growing because of guys like you and folks who have been willing to not only spend their money but spend their time and
Sure.
say things. It's really it's very humbling and very flattering for sure.
Yeah,
well,
we actually have a very good question too. Chris was asking you, what's more exciting about a new beer release, the branding, marketing, or the actual taste?
Oh, that's a good one. Personally, I am always the branding and marketing guy. Like I love the packaging, I love the label design, I love all the things that go into it. And really, to be honest, until the last maybe 5 or 6 months, we just haven't had a big enough team, and I haven't had the bandwidth to kind of do the promotional stuff around each individual release. I think in the past, where Workhorse has not done a good enough job is in letting people know what's coming and then doing promotions around the release. I think probably the last maybe 2 or 3 months of 2019 into the first couple months of 2020, we got a lot better at it as we hired more people and we had more time. That's not to say that I don't love the beer. I mean, I'm not in the brewery all that much during this whole pandemic. I've been home with the exception of maybe a day or two here or there. But I was in there on Wednesday before we canned the pina colada and was just super excited to try it. So to Chris's question, it is really awesome to try a new beer, and it's really great to see what Nate does. I mean, he's never brewed any of these beers before. These are all like totally brand new, doing 60 barrel batches on a 30 barrel system. The guy is just a total workhorse.
He's doing a hell of a job too, man. He is nailing these tastes easily.
Yeah.
Well, music to my ears. So he's like, and the thing about Nate, and if you guys have met him in the brewery, and for those who come in, I mean, like he couldn't be a better dude. I mean, he is as humble as they come with all the accolades he has for his decade plus of brewing. he could be the type of guy that says, I'm just going to brew what I want to brew. And that's just not who he is. He wants the business to be successful. He wants people to be happy, and he knows what he does well. And he'll find a way to make something that's going to kind of satisfy everybody.
That's awesome.
He's doing so where do you kind of see, I mean, I guess it's kind of a two-part question. Where do you see, once we get through this time, where do you see Workhorse going, or do you have, what are your future plans, if you could share those?
Sure.
And like the craft beer industry in general, I mean, where do you see more experimentation going on, or different beer styles kind of taking over, say the most popular IPA, or I don't know what's
Yeah. Well, so I can answer it probably more on the kind of business strategy and what our growth vision is, as opposed to where I think the beer is going to go. I mean, the beer thing, it's really tough. Even if I were an expert on beer, the trends are very hard to predict. And we've tried to jump on certain things that we thought made sense, but we've also tried to stay very true to, again, that kind of accessible, approachable mission, and having a portfolio that's got a nice balance between lagers and ales, as well as some more fruited stuff and some more experimental things. I think beer wise for us, it's going to continue to be that breakdown. It's really interesting to see how the sales numbers have looked post COVID as opposed to pre COVID in terms of the styles that people are buying. It's really not dissimilar. IPAs are still dominating overall. And then the margarita, the rosé, the pina colada, those fruited sour beers are driving sales, pretty well. But it's like, you have to make sure that you're not in the position where you're sitting long on stuff just because you want to continue to release them. Like, every beer has a season. I don't want to be brewing margarita in January. It's not a beer that you want when it's that time. From an overall business standpoint, we were actually poised to open a restaurant in the KOP tap room, and we were also going to be opening a large scale beer garden that was going to be a year-round thing outside. This has obviously put a pause on all of those things, as well as some expansion within our cellar that we were planning to do. We are going forward with a couple different expansion projects currently that we're excited to be able to do. But it's very hard to give you kind of a firm answer as to what it's going to look like until we kind of know when this is going to end. What I've been telling everybody when I have these type of calls or talking to people on the phone or offline is that, I don't think Workhorse is going to open anytime soon from a taproom standpoint. We're certainly not going to be the first taproom to open. I don't feel comfortable exposing our staff or our guests to anything unless I can be 100% sure that they're going to be safe. It's just not. I'd rather Workhorse not exist than someone come in and get sick.
Yeah.
Like, it sucks to hear that, but that's just what it is. And I think I can say that comfortably also because, again, we've had success with this new business model and the business is viable. So if we can shift to a business model, at least in the short term, where, you guys can get the beer that you want, we can do it safely, and we can keep our team happy, healthy, and employed. That's what I'll continue to do for the time being.
That's awesome.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Awesome answer.
So this will be, I guess, the last question. We can wrap it up here. But Zach wanted to ask you, I don't know if you have the answers for this, but what combination have you thought of but not followed through on with brewing?
In terms of a style that we've wanted to brew and have not brewed? That's a good question. I know we've got some stuff that we've been playing around with. So as part of the summer cocktail series, we wanted to do like a lemon radler. And part of that was getting a pasteurizer in so we could do that. We basically put 50% down on the pasteurizer. We've since now decided to move forward with that, but I probably won't have it in time, or we're certainly not going to go forward with that. So that's a beer, 3.2% ABV, almost kind of like an alcoholic soda. That's one that we would like to do in the future that we haven't done. I know the challenge is that, like, a lot of the beers that we would like to do, at least Nate would like to do, are probably beers that aren't going to move the needle on like a larger scale from a sales perspective. So like, he wants to mess around with more classic German styles. He would love to do a smoked porter, like a Rausch beer.
That'd be cool.
Which would be fun, but like, I think our current business, the way it's set up with a 30-barrel brew house, it doesn't lend itself very well to a smaller experimental system. I think once we get back open, that's definitely something we'd like to play around with. I think that'll allow Nate to do more of these smaller batch things to kind of test them out. But we do have a couple new releases, coming up in the next couple months. Since we've been in COVID, we've now released 3 or 4 new beers, and I think we're going to continue to do that just because it gives people something to look forward to and gives us something to get excited about.
That it does. It really does.
Gets us excited.
Yes, it really does. Because I'm gonna keep coming to your brewery.
If nobody else to get.
I'm gonna go pick up my beer from the picnic tables and enjoy my day once I get back home.
Fantastic. We'll keep selling you beer. So
Appreciate it. Well, thank you all for watching. Thank you, Dan, for coming on and talking with us.
Yes, thank you.
If you live in the Raleigh area, please check out Workhorse. They have delicious beer, and it's made right. It really is, because everything they've had, I'm a big fan of. And I'm not saying that you're going to be a big fan of all this stuff, but most of their beers, I guarantee you'll like. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon, and cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, guys.